So hello, everybody. It's the 18th of August. I'm here at my office in New York City. And today I have the distinct pleasure of being joined by Diku Montovia. And I'm pretty sure that when he joins us, he's going to correct me on how I mispronounce his name. He is an emergency room physician and a chief medical officer for a company. And I've spoken with him before. He's an extremely interesting guy, so I know that you'll enjoy this interview. Now, before we join Diku, let's take a look at just a couple of our stories today. In the news, you see that there's been a cyber attack that's going to cost Scripps Health $133 million. There's something also that I find interesting is that lung cancer screenings are up in 19 states, even despite the pandemic. And finally, something that is important in our industry is that a CMS proposal could cut radiologist reimbursements. So, the market is ever changing. And speaking of something that's interesting and new, and in this case, beneficial, Diku, we're now going to be joined by Diku. So Diku is always the smartest guy in the room. He's an emergency room physician, and now he is the chief medical officer for
Ceribell.
Which is a way to, in a non-invasive way, to check for stroke. Is that right, or am I wrong?
It's actually seizures. Our first algorithm is seizures. So Ceribell has developed really one of the world's first non-invasive brain monitors. Absolutely an exciting breakthrough. They've taken EEG technology and miniaturized it, made it easy to use, brought it to point of care in the frontline healthcare workers so that in addition to monitoring, of course, cardiac function, lung function, to assess brain function, especially seizures that could be present in many of these critical patients.
Now, when I think of a seizure, I think of someone having visible convulsions. Do I understand that people can have seizures that we don't see?
Absolutely correct. And one of the things that we recognize increasingly in the medical literature, in the patients that are critically ill, the vast majority of their seizures are what we call non-convulsive. So there's no actual motor activity, no shaking. And those are actually impossible to detect unless you're doing some form of EEG monitoring.
Now, how, and this has application in the operating room and in the emergency room, or primarily in the emergency room?
So EEG technology has been around for quite a while. Primarily, it's been used in the ICU and on the ward, and of course, sometimes as an outpatient. But what Ceribell has done is made it really a point of care EEG, and it's primarily will be used in the emergency department and in the ICU, sort of an extension of a hospital's conventional EEG systems.
Now, do I understand there's a device that you put on the patient's head?
Yeah, it's actually quite innovative, very simple headband in contrast to, say, standard EEGs. A simple headband that can be placed by a nurse or a tech. It attaches to a recorder the size of really like a large iPhone. And the recorder obviously collects the EEG signals, but we also have developed an AI algorithm that will interpret those EEG signals for the bedside physician. Furthermore, the recorder is connected to the cloud, where those EEG waveforms can be read by neurologists as well.
Now, is there, I know that artificial intelligence is comparing different patients and therefore making or creating sort of predictive analytics. Is that maybe not applicable in this case because you can't predict when a patient is going to have convulsions, or am I wrong about that?
Well, at least our current iteration of our AI algorithm actually assesses the waveform activities to look at the presence of seizures, particularly status epilepticus. And so we can actually collect the amount of abnormal activity and create really a seizure burden graph. I do believe, and we have studies that are ongoing that will help predict which of these patients will end up actually having seizures as well.
I see. Now, how does this help physicians, and how does it help physicians, and how does it help patients?
So if you think about physicians at the bedside, especially in the emergency department or even in the ICU, you have critically ill patients. You have to make a lot of decisions quickly. You want to diagnose significant conditions as quick as possible and treat them as quickly as possible. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, non-convulsive status epilepticus is very prevalent in a lot of conditions seen in emergency departments and ICUs. There's no way to diagnose. So now we've given these frontline physicians a tool to help take care of these patients. So that's a big change, and that's a big advance in medicine. And as far as the patients, that's phenomenal for patients, right? So thinking about getting that test quickly, and that allows a quicker diagnosis, therefore a quicker treatment, and therefore ideally a better outcome.
Right. Now, I don't want to seem mercenary, but how does this help hospitals? How does it help the bottom line? Does it help either of those?
So we've developed a technology. It's actually phenomenal at many different levels. At the hospital level, so hospitals are on tremendous pressure to take care of more patients at a less cost. And our device is really a low-cost device with high value. We help extend current conventional EEG coverage. We help make the diagnosis quicker. That actually will help decrease length of stay, and we have papers to show that. By decreasing length of stay, we decrease costs significantly. And so on the hospital side, it makes a lot of sense to integrate technology such as ours that will not only improve patient care, help physicians, but also help, as you mentioned, the bottom line at the hospital.
Yeah. How does it work? Like, what's the technology behind it?
So we've had some brilliant researchers based in Silicon Valley that have been working quite, vigorously for about 5 years to develop this technology. So as I mentioned, conventional EEG has been around for a long time, but the fact that it has been designed for point of care is quite a big departure from current EEG systems. And doing that was quite a challenge, right? So you had to make a system easy to use and not have to use an EEG tech. Most of the times when an EEG is performed, you need a technician, and there's a nationwide shortage. So Ceribell has developed an EEG system that no technicians required. So that can be placed by any healthcare professional. Within 5 minutes, you're going to have a reading on this small, tiny recorder, which is quite miniature. And the fact that we've included a portal and cloud-based computing and an AI algorithm has really rounded out a sort of a well thought through system that can extend EEG coverage into point of care.
And I know that from our conversation in the past that point of care is a priority to you, especially as an emergency room physician. So we wear this headband, and then is there a wireless connection between the headband and the control module, whatever it's called, or is there a wired connection? And are there alarms for the physician saying, hey, guess what, this is happening to the patient?
So those are great questions, Phil. So right now, our headband is connected with a wire to the recorder. But remember that recorder is right adjacent to the patient. But the other thing, which is quite unique to Ceribell, is because of our AI algorithm, it's always analyzing EEG signals in the background continuously. And it has been set to, at different thresholds, to send an alarm to the bedside nurse or bedside physician. So this is a sort of an early warning system. And when you're having a seizure, it's more or less your brain is on fire, and you want to put that fire out as quickly as possible. And it's almost like a smoke alarm, right? So it's alarming off, and that everyone treating a patient knows that something serious is going on, and let's take care of it quickly. And that ultimately leads to better patient outcomes.
Are there many hospitals, like how long has this product been on the market? Do you have many hospitals are using the product, the service?
Yeah, so we're commercially available, we're FDA approved, and we're in over 200 hospitals in the United States, including many academic centers, including Stanford, Yale, University of New Mexico, UCLA, as well as other large IDNs such as HCA and Kaiser. And so they've all vetted the technology and recognize it's going to have a big role in their patient care.
And what changes or improvements, or how do you see the future of this need?
I see what Ceribell has developed becoming a new standard of care. And there's a lot of precedent for that. If you look at other non-invasive monitoring, whether it's EKG monitoring or pulse oximetry, end-tidal CO2, non-invasive hemodynamics, that have sort of become standard of care in these seriously ill patients. Brain monitoring, which has been conspicuously absent, now has opportunity to be monitored, again, with a simple device. And I believe that by doing that, we're going to be able to detect more neurological conditions, which is ultimately going to help a lot more patients.
Yes, it's true that there are so many there's so many options for non-invasive monitoring in the emergency room or intensive care. And you're right, brain monitoring has not been one of them. So congratulations to Ceribell on this new product.
No, it's very exciting, Phil. As a physician, ultimately what we want is a good outcome, and a good outcome always includes a good neurological outcome. And now by being able to assess that function, that brain function continuously, that's a big game changer.
Well, Diku, you have a great knack of being able to explain complicated things in a way that's simple to understand. And once again, you've done it here. And I want to thank you for joining us. And as always, I hope I get to shake your hand in person at some point in the future.